Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told Us podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're strapping in for a real sonic adventure, actually. A deep dive into the life and times of a true original. A voice that, really defined a generation and honestly keeps surprising us. We're talking about Cortazar Calvin Broadus Jr.
Better known, of course, as Snoop Dogg.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe forget what you think you know, because we're going to uncover some really unexpected twists and turns that forged this icon.
Absolutely. We've pulled together a fascinating collection of moments from his journey, from those Long Beach beginnings all the way to the global empire he's built today.
Right.
Our mission isn't just like listing facts, though. It's about really understanding the forces that shaped Snoop, the pivotal decisions, the sheer audacity of his evolution.
Yeah, getting the story behind the story.
You're going to hear this in a whole new light, I think.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Picture this. Long Beach, California, October 20th, 1971. A young Cortazar comes into the world, named after his stepfather, because his biological father wasn't really around much early on.
Right. That's an important detail early.
And here's a little spark right from the start. His mom nicknamed him Snoopy.
Snoopy. Like the cartoon.
Yeah, because he was apparently a huge fan of the Peanuts character. It's kind of funny thinking of this towering figure with that nickname.
It really is. And it speaks to the layers, the different facets we're about to peel back. He was raised in a Baptist household.
Okay.
So music was just foundational from the get-go. He sang, played piano in church, and his mother's love for old school R&B. That was a huge influence.
So it wasn't just hip-hop from day one then?
Not at all, no.
Interesting. And like a lot of kids, he had that hustle, right? Selling candy, delivering newspapers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the usual stuff. But here's where the path starts to diverge a bit. He was reportedly a pretty good student, active in church choir, even played football.
Okay, seemed like he was on a certain track.
Right. But then around 6th grade, the rhythm just kind of took hold. He started rapping. Just for fun at first. And suddenly he was drawing crowds. People were stopping to listen. Imagine that a young kid realizing he has this gift, this power to captivate people with words.
Wow, that must have been something, a real light bulb moment.
Definitely. That early validation of his talent must have been incredibly powerful. But, as he got into his teens, things got more complex.
How so?
Well, despite his mother's efforts, he found himself drawn into the gang life, reportedly with the Rollin' 20s Crips.
Right. I know he later sort of disputed being a direct member back in '93.
Exactly. But it highlights the environment, right? The pressures he was navigating, talent and struggle kind of existing side by side.
And that path, it had real consequences, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Not long after graduating high school, I think it was '89, he was arrested for cocaine possession.
Right.
Led to some time incarcerated over the next few years. It's a really stark reminder of the challenges back then. A far cry from the global superstar we see now.
Absolutely. It underscores the kind of resilience needed to get past that.
It really does. But even during this difficult period, his music dreams were solidifying. He formed a group, 213.
Oh, yeah, with his cousins, right. Nate Dogg and Lil Saf Dead.
And his friend Warren G. They were making noise, getting some early label attention. You can sense that drive, the ambition, even with all the difficulties.
Then comes that moment, the kind of fork in the road that changes everything.
The sliding doors moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A solo freestyle of his somehow gets to Dr. Dre. Dre hears it, is blown away, and brings Snoop in for an audition in '91.
Yeah.
For Death Row Records. Well, it was called Future Shock back then, right?
Yeah, Future Shock first. Talk about a game changer.
Seriously.
But it wasn't just luck, There was this raw, undeniable talent that Dre just heard. And interestingly, before he fully emerged, he got some crucial mentoring.
Oh, yeah? From who?
From the DOC. He apparently taught Snoop about song structure, verses, hooks, choruses, the nuts and bolts.
Ah, okay. So that technical know-how combined with his natural flow.
Exactly. It was a potent mix.
So he's got this new understanding and that name that just works, Snoop Doggy Dogg. He steps into the Death Row era.
And his buddy Warren G played a key role there, right? Passing Dre that tape initially?
Yeah, that's the story. And just like that, he signed Future Shock, soon to be the infamous Death Row Records, a label that was about to just redefine West Coast hip-hop.
Totally. And Dre didn't waste any time. He immediately started pulling Snoop into his work. First, the theme song for the movie Deep Cover in '92.
Right. That gave people a first taste.
Then his major features on Dre's own groundbreaking debut album, The Chronic, also '92. That really set the stage. Features from Thai Dog Pound members too, of course.
And rise he did, I mean, in a massive way. His debut album, Doggystyle, produced entirely by Dre, hit the scene in '93 like a sonic boom.
Didn't just chart, did it?
No. Shot straight to #1 on the Billboard 200, sold, what, over 800,000 copies in the first week?
Incredible numbers, 806,000, yeah. Went quadruple platinum eventually.
Yeah.
That kind of impact is just seismic.
Unbelievable.
And those first singles, What's My Name and Gin and Juice, they weren't just hits, they were anthems.
Oh, yeah. Top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, both of them.
And they were crucial in pushing that West Coast G-Funk sound into the mainstream, that smooth, laid-back vibe, those P-Funk influenced productions. It defined an era.
It really did.
Yeah.
But with that massive success came, well, a lot of heat, right?
For sure. His music, with those raw depictions of street life, it became a real lightning rod. The whole debate about censorship, labeling gangsta rap, he was often front and center.
Right in the middle of it.
It's a crucial point, though, because while the lyrics were controversial, musically, his delivery was actually pretty unique.
How so?
Well, critics at the time pointed out his flow was often more conversational, almost melodic sometimes, a real contrast to some of the harder styles out there.
So that softer vocal approach, ironically, became part of his signature sound.
Exactly, which is interesting given the subject matter sometimes.
Then, right in the middle of all this fame and controversy, life throws this massive curveball. 1993, he gets charged with first-degree murder.
Yeah, that was huge, even though his bodyguard was the actual shooter.
Right. And that legal battle just hung over him for years. He was finally acquitted in '96, but the case wasn't officially closed until just this year, 2024.
Yeah, crazy timeline. Imagine trying to navigate that level of superstardom with that hanging over your head.
It's almost unimaginable. And Snoop himself said that acquittal was a real turning point. Like, he felt if he kept going down that path, it wouldn't end well.
And this whole intense period was also documented, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In that short film from '94, Murder Was the Case.
Oh, yeah, with that massive soundtrack.
Very successful soundtrack.
Shows that entrepreneurial spirit kicking in early, even with all that legal drama. In '95, he founds his own label, Doggystyle Records, Inc.
Right, even while still under death row, technically. Speaks volumes about his ambition, his vision. And after the acquittal, he makes a move. Relocates to Claremont, California.
A fresh start, maybe. A different environment.
Seems likely. By '96, Doggystyle Records, operating as a subsidiary of Death Row, was starting to sign artists. And he also had that powerful collaboration with Tupac Shakur.
Two of America's most wanted. Classic.
Absolutely. And sadly, one of Shakur's last releases before he was killed later that year.
Such a loss. The whole landscape at Death Row was shifting dramatically around then, too.
Totally. By the time Snoop's second album, Thai Doggfather, came out in November '96, Dr. Dre was gone.
Right, those big contract disputes with Suge Knight.
Exactly. And Dre's departure inevitably meant a change in sound for Snoop.
So who produced Thai Doggfather?
He co-produced it himself with Daz Dillinger and DJ Pooh, and it definitely had a different feel than Doggystyle.
Still debuted at #1, though, didn't it?
It did, yeah. But there was a noticeable shift, a bit more laid back, maybe less overtly gangsta in the lyrics. And his joining the Lollapalooza tour in '97, mostly an alternative rock festival.
Right, that signaled a change, too.
Yeah.
Moving beyond the expected.
Definitely an evolution.
Then came another really big move. 1998, he signs with Master P's No Limit Records.
Yeah, leaving Death Row behind, that No Limit alliance was incredibly fruitful. Generated hit albums like Dog Game Is to Be Sold, Not to Be Told in '98.
No Limit Top Dog in '99.
And Thai Last Meal in 2000, all did really well commercially, proved his staying power.
And this era, it saw him cultivating his image even more, right?
Yeah.
He even put out his autobiography in '99.
Thai Doggfather, good title.
Perfect title.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a shift towards more of a pimp persona during this time. In the music, the fashion.
Yeah, the visuals. He was constantly shape-shifting his artistic identity, wasn't he?
Always keeping people guessing. His journey through the major labels just kept going into the 2000s.
Yeah.
Signed with Priority Capital EMI in 2002.
Right, and that deal gave us the album Paid the Cost to Be the Bull.
Which had some serious hits.
Yeah.
From that Chooch to the Palace.
Mm-hmm.
And that super catchy one, Beautiful, with Pharrell.
Yeah, great track. Showed his knack for blending his style with, like, contemporary sounds and collaborators.
That Pharrell link-up was clearly important.
Definitely laid the groundwork. By 2004, he'd signed again, this time with Geffen Records, but also specifically with Star Trek Entertainment.
Which was the Neptunes label.
Right.
Pharrell and Chad Hugo.
Exactly. And that partnership led to his 2004 album, R&G, Rhythm and Gangsta, the masterpiece.
And this album dropped an absolute monster hit.
You know the one?
Drop It Like It's Hot, again with Pharrell. That track was just everywhere.
Total game changer. It became his first ever #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100.
Incredible. More than a decade after his debut, he's dominating the charts. Proves his relevance.
His reach wasn't just the U.S. either. The single Signs with Justin Timberlake and Charlie Wilson reached #2 in the U.K. That's still his highest charting single over there.
Wow. And he also got the old crew back together around then, 2013.
Yeah, reunited with Warren G and Nate Dogg, finally released their album The Hard Way in 2004, showed he hadn't forgotten his roots, even while exploring all these new sounds.
Always staying connected. He even popped up in that Korn video, Twisted Transistor.
Huh. Yeah, with Lil Jon, Exhibit, bridging those genre gaps.
And still collaborating with the West Coast OGs, like Ice Cube and Ty Dog Pound. His 2006 album, Thai Blue Carpet Treatment, debuted strong too. Top 5.
Just consistent. It's truly remarkable, his ability to just keep evolving his sound, collaborating across genres, but always staying recognizably Snoop.
Never afraid to experiment. That's going to be key to his longevity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered this incredible musical journey, but man, the story just gets wilder when you look beyond the studio.
Oh yeah, the ventures outside music or something else.
Like in 2007, he did something really innovative, released a track, it's the DOG, as a ringtone before the single came out.
Huh. Ahead of the curve, right. Shows he understood fan engagement, new tech. Same year, he's performing at Live Earth in Hamburg. Global stage.
And then, totally out of left field, 2008, he gets into Bollywood. Raps for the movie Sing Is King.
Bollywood.
Yeah.
You just can't predict it. It's like, what can't Snoop do?
Seriously. He also dropped the album Ego Trip in that year. Had that single Sexual Eruption.
Right, where he used auto-tune quite heavily, again, playing with contemporary trends.
And around the same time, he gets an executive gig at Priority Records, showing his influence behind the scenes was growing too.
The early 2010s kept the music coming. Malice in Wonderland in 2009, Documentary in 2011.
And crossing over big time into pop. That Katy Perry track, California Girls.
When I get it.
And working with Gorillaz on Welcome to the World of the Plastic Beach, just expanding his reach everywhere.
And then came maybe the biggest transformation yet.
You talk about Jamaica.
Yeah. After a trip there in 2012, he announces he's converted to Rastafari and adopts a new name, Snoop Lion.
Snoop Lion, I remember that. Released a whole reggae album, Reincarnated, in 2013. And a documentary.
It was a huge shift. And yeah, it definitely sparked a lot of conversation. Some in the Rasta community were critical, concerns about cultural appropriation.
Yeah, it was controversial for sure.
Yeah.
But bold.
Incredibly bold. And at the same time, he's exploring funk music as Snoopzilla.
Right. With Damn Funk, that 70s of funk album. Just showing another dimension entirely.
He even hinted around then that he might be done with rap as Snoop Dogg, like his final album.
Yeah, right. He thrives on keeping us guessing.
Totally. Because he wasn't done with rap by a long shot. Bush came out in 2015, produced by Pharrell again.
Then Kool-Aid in 2016, Neva left in 2017.
And then another massive pivot, declares himself a born-again Christian.
And releases a gospel album, Bible of Love, in 2018. This journey of, like, spiritual and musical exploration is just fascinating.
It really is. It highlights his constant evolution, his willingness to explore totally different paths. That same year, 2018, he finally got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Well-deserved. A permanent marker of his impact.
Absolutely.
And the story just keeps going. In a move that felt like destiny, in 2022, he actually acquired Death Row Records.
Full circle, the label that launched him. Incredible.
And he's still releasing music. I Want to Thank Me in 19, From the Streets to Thaw Suites in 21, BODR in 22.
Even teamed up with Eminem again from the LBC in 2022. Fans love that.
Oh, yeah. And most recently, just this past December 2024, his 20th studio album, Missionary.
Produced entirely by Dr. Greybuild as a sequel to Doggystyle.
And it hit big. His highest charting album since 2015 shows that original magic is still there.
That partnership, Dre and Snoop, it's just legendary, still potent after all these years.
Okay, if you're enjoying this wild ride through the many lives of Snoop Dogg, and you want to dive into more fascinating stories here on Tell Me More,
you know what to do.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on our future deep dives.
All right, so beyond the music, beyond the name changes, let's talk about some of these other ventures. His acting career, for example, is surprisingly long.
It really is, starring roles in stuff like The Wash and Bones, co-starring in Mac and Devin Go to High School.
And hosting TV shows, sketch comedy like Doggyfizzle Televizzle, talk shows like Dog After Dark, even brought back the Joker's Wild Game Show.
He's just a natural entertainer. And then there's, well, a chapter that might surprise some people.
Uh-oh, which one?
Early in his career, he directed some adult films.
Yeah.
Under different names.
Ah, right. That's definitely a part of the diverse portfolio. Shows his wide-ranging interests, maybe.
Let's just say diverse. Yeah. But on the business front, he's been an absolute whirlwind.
Seriously entrepreneurial. Founded Snoopadelic Films, launched the Snoopify app, collaborated on the G-Pen vaporizer.
Invested in tech, like Reddit, and the cannabis delivery startup Ease.
Launched his own media platform, Mary Jane, his own cannabis brand, Leafs by Snoop. He really built an empire outside music.
He almost bought Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles. Can you imagine Snoop's Roscoe's?
Uh-huh. The menu possibilities. He also jumped into esports, created the Gangsta Gaming League, even briefly served on FaZe Clan's board. Always has his finger on the pulse of youth culture.
And the beverage world. Snoop Cali Red Wine. Took on that executive creative role at Def Jam, and of course, bought Death Row Records.
Became a playable character in Call of Duty, got involved in NFTs with Floof World. It just keeps going. He's going to be a coach on The Voice soon.
Opening his first legal weed shop, SWED, this year too, and promoting Fortnite in Times Square.
And launching gin and juice cocktails with Dre, and his own luxury gin, still GIN. It's staggering, the sheer volume and diversity.
Well, it really is. And we absolutely cannot forget his love for pro wrestling.
Lifelong fan, multiple WrestleMania appearances, WWE Hall of Famer since 2016, even showed up in AEW.
And he hosted WrestleMania 39 both nights, and actually got in the ring, improvised the spot, and won a match.
Pure Snoop Dogg entertainment right there.
Beyond the fun stuff, though, he's also really committed to giving back, isn't he?
Deeply. Founded the Snoop Youth Football League. Snoop Special Stars for special needs kids, providing real opportunities in his community.
Gives away turkeys every Thanksgiving, supports tons of charities. It's a significant part of his legacy.
Definitely. And his political voice, his activism, it's been noteworthy too.
Yeah, he's spoken out on different issues over the years, endorsed different people, advocated for same-sex marriage, tighter gun control.
And he led that peaceful march to the LAPD with the game after the Dallas police shooting. Stood up on social justice issues, supports defunding police departments too.
His connection to cannabis, obviously, that's huge, part of his brand forever. Now he's a major player in the legal industry.
Right. And even his views on animal rights seem to have evolved. Faced criticism for wearing fur early on.
But later claimed to be vegan, or at least mostly vegan. Invested in vegan companies, became an ambassador for Beyond Meat.
Shows growth, change over time.
And his love for sports. It's not just wrestling. Huge fan of lots of teams. Coached youth football for years.
And then this year, 2024, just wild, he ran an exhibition 200-meter race at the U.S. Olympic trials.
I saw that. And now, unbelievably, he's been named one of the final torchbearers for the Paris Olympics this year.
From Long Beach to carrying the Olympic torch in Paris. That just says it all, doesn't it? What a journey.
It perfectly captures how multifaceted he is.
Yeah.
How he just transcends all the usual celebrity boxes. He's a global figure now in so many different areas.
Truly influential across the board.
And speaking of unexpected, here's that unique situation, that fun fact we talked about. It just paints a picture.
Okay, let's hear it.
Snoop Dogg actually holds the world record for the largest paradise cocktail ever made.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. It just somehow fits, doesn't it? Larger-than-life personality, flair for the spectacular.
That's hilarious. And yeah, somehow perfectly fitting for the Snoop Dogg story.
So when we kind of step back, look at this whole sprawling career. What does it all mean? I mean, it's obvious he's way more than just a rapper.
Oh, much more. He's a cultural chameleon, right? Constantly adapting, evolving, moving into territories nobody saw coming. Gospel music, esports, fine spirits.
His journey is just incredible. Shows amazing adaptability, this knack for staying relevant decade after decade after decade.
And if you connect all those dots, think about it. From the streets of Long Beach, the death row days, to carrying the Olympic torch in Paris, his path has been anything but predictable.
He's navigated huge legal challenges, embraced so many different artistic identities, built this incredibly diverse empire.
What really stands out to you most in all of this is it the business side, the community work, the musical shifts.
That's tough. Maybe it's just the sheer reinvention, the power of personality, whatever it is, his story is just this powerful example of, well, transformation and enduring appeal.
It really is, which leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought for everyone listening.
Right.
Given this constant evolution, this capacity for transformation, what do you think could possibly be the next surprising chapter in the ongoing saga of Snoop Dogg? What new ventures, what new identities, what new transformations might he embrace in the years ahead? It's a question that really underlines the dynamism of a true cultural icon. You just never know what's next.